Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Writing Part 2. Um, I hope that everybody's doing well. I know we have some new people looking in today. Welcome. And our philosophy is that we want you to have complete understanding. So always let us know if we're in a section that you're not grasping, let us know, let us know, let us know. Our email is posted, our phone number is posted. So it's all there for you. Today we're going to talk about writing in a what it looks like to write in a formal tone or academic tone or professional tone. What words you would use, what words you would never use. So when we're writing our essays, we're never going to talk. We're never going to speak casually like we would do with one another because it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for the setting. How we speak with our friends, how we speak at home, whole nother thing. We've talked about that. We can speak in our own vernacular, our own um, special language. Some people call it Ebonics, some people call it AAVE. It's a real dialect, but it is not. Um, it's not for an academic setting necessarily. But you have to be very careful that you know what the purpose is for your writing. There may be a time where it is um, acceptable, but you got to be clear. If you're writing your essays for these tests so you can get your diploma, mm-mm. So what I want to do is share this little sheet that tells you what that is going to look like. Okay. Okay, so when we're speaking in a formal tone, it is less personal. We don't really care about you too much. You may not use contractions like don't. You would use the word do not. The project will not continue yet next year. That's how you would use it. You do not use slang or colloquialisms, meaning that um, casual language or terms that are not considered standard. So you are going to say, it was raining very heavily, right? You're not going to use first person pronouns. I, me, mine. We don't care about you. Okay. And what you're going to say is that various research methods were used for the study. Not going to say I used them because, again, we don't care. You're always writing to an expert, okay? You're writing to a person of authority. And this tone you would use in an informational essay or an argument essay where you're having to take sides, one or both. And even if you're taking one, remember we're always exploring the other side. Let's look again at what an informal tone is going to look like. It's going to be personal. It's acceptable to use contractions like don't. The research project won't continue next year instead of will not, right? You may use slang and colloquialisms. It was raining cats and dogs. It's okay to say that, right? We were starting to pull out our arcs. You may use the first person pronouns I, me, mine. Okay? I. And then also you can consider various research methods. You can say I considered, okay, in personal writing, not in impersonal writing, right? We're not going to do that. How did I just lose my page? And then also, finally, you're not writing to an expert, you're writing to a peer, a classmate, person on your same level. So if you were going to send an email to a supervisor at work, you're always going to use a professional tone. Um, you're also can use this as a narrative, as a story you're writing. And you could use this in a persuasive essay to persuade someone. So that is when that language is acceptable, or rather that tone. Secondly, let's take a quick look. Wrong one. Let's take a quick look at a mini slide that I have, which will show us non-formal tone. Okay. Let's go. Nonfiction writers use informal tone. So, fiction is something that is made up, imaginary. Nonfiction is when we're talking, we're giving you information, right? Like a textbook, a math book, science book, a newspaper article. Those things will be written in a formal tone. Formal tone. I supported readers' learning by using a teaching tone and a formal style as appropriate. I chose my words carefully to explain my information and ideas and to have an effect on my reader. Writing with tone. Certain types of writing require formal or informal tone. Informal writing can use formal tone to get a message across. So, how do we do this? We're not going to use contractions. We're not going to use first and second person pronouns. I, me, right? Mine. And we're not going to use slang or colloquialisms. So let's sort these out between formal and informal. Less personal or personal? Formal is less personal. Formal says you cannot use the first person pronoun, you cannot use slang, and usually you will see this in an informational or argumentative essay, and you may not use contractions. So you're going to say do not. On an informal tone, it is personal. You may speak from your aspect of I. You may use slangs and colloquialisms in an informal again. And this is a narrative. If you're writing about someone's life or your persuasive essay, I want you to understand my viewpoint. I want to bring you around to my side, right? And you can use contractions such as don't. So let's take a look here. What is this? The research project will not continue next year. Formal or informal? Well, we just said that we're going to write a word out and not use a contraction. That's going to be formal. The research project won't continue next year. We know is informal. It was raining cats and dogs. Formal or informal? Cats and dogs is a colloquialism. It's something that is passed down commonly in language, and it's also figurative and not literal. We don't see cats and dogs falling from the sky. That's an informal tone. It was raining very heavily. Formal tone. I considered various research methods for this study. Informal tone. And you would never write that in a school paper. Never, never, never. If you're doing science research, you're never going to say that. You're going to say these methods. Unless you're writing what you did in an experiment, you're going to say various methods were considered. Writing to a friend, informal. Writing to an expert, you want to sound like you know something. Writing to a person of authority, you have to convey what? Respect, a tone of respect. Writing to a classmate, probably informal. How did we do? Think of a formal affair, like where you got to dress up, right? You know, rolling in jeans and a formal affair. Think of an informal thing, right? A kickback. You just kind of come as you are, right? It's the same thing. So let's highlight the formal tone or word that replaced the informal uh, word or phrase in red. So the formal tone word would be investigated. So what did I do? He checked up on his brothers, right? On this side, they tolerated their neighbors. What did they do? They put up with them. And we know what that means. We've had those neighbors, right? You might have even been that neighbor. She understood very quickly, informal. She caught on very quickly. She compensated for it with an early night. She made up for it with an early night. And when we talked about being wordy and all of that in the prior lesson, there might be a time where she made up for it with an early night. Say you were partying for your birthday and then your battery ran down. So what did you have to do? You made up for it with an early night after that, right? He contracted a fever. More casually, he went down with the fever. Okay. The cost of the iPod increased. The cost of the iPod went up. And what are we noticing? What are we noticing? Can we tell that the tone is different? Yeah, the tone is different. Informal tone is how I would talk to my classmates or my family. A formal tone uses stronger words. Exactly. Types of tone. Families sell their kids because schools do not have free education. And a time that a fourth of people who live in high poverty locations are poor, schools are too pricey. Kids never learn to read or write. New victims have no future after slavery. Wow. What kind of tone is in that? Let's look at this one. Furthermore, families sell their kids because schools do not have free education. What is up with that? In a time that a fourth of people who live in high poverty locations are poor, schools are too pricey. I really feel like this is unfair because that means that kids will never learn to read or write. New victims have no future after slavery. Which one's formal? I think a clue to the informal one is what is up with that? We don't say that. And then also, I feel like this is unfair. Well, we didn't ask you. You're simply reporting on the story. Don't insert yourself in the story. Let's take a look here. Right? What is up with that? I really feel like this is unfair. So there we go. And we also notice this is a language that's more casual. And it gives an opinion in first person pronouns. So there's our clue. So this is, I think, our last one. We're going to have slang, opinions, and contractions. The Black Death had a major impact on society. According to Source One, tons of people died. There are several theories on the cause of the Black Death, but the one that most people wouldn't disagree on is the rats and fleas one. This is pretty nasty. Sanitation also played a role in the spreading of the disease. After crunching some numbers, Source 2 states, historians agree that Europe's population dropped by half in the first decades of the Black Death. I think the staggering death count presents the pure havoc of the time. So, yeah. Oopsie. So what we're going to do is take out the slang, right? Take out our opinion, take out words like tons. And this is pretty nasty. And the rats and the fleas one. We got to watch our grammar. Okay, so I think So, formal tone. I supported readers' learning by teaching a teaching tone and a formal style as appropriate. I choose my words carefully to explain my information and ideas to have an effect on my reader. And I'm actually mixing formal and informal tone. Why do you think I would do that? Well, I change my tone when there's something that I want you to understand as knowledge and facts. Okay. But then I speak in my normal tone when I just want to come across as a person, as a human being. So, excuse me, that is all. Um, I hope to see you all soon at 11:30 for science. And if there are any questions, comments, concerns, please, please, please let me know. And you all take care, and I hope to hear from you.